So Joel, I think you did tell me 12 my time. I think you did say that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, my bad.
Oh, it's okay. All right, here we go.
Joel, I think you did tell me 12 my time. I think you did say that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, my bad.
All right, greetings,
okay.
everyone. We are
All right, here we go.
going live here on Facebook and YouTube. It's a joy to be with you all today. I am excited. I'm Pastor Joel. Thank you for joining us for new web series, Transparency. And I'm excited about my guest that's joining me today. I want everyone to help me welcome international recording star Jesse Campbell is live with us today, and I'm excited about it. How you doing, man? How's it going?
That's the crowd. That's my imagination. Hey, I'm doing very well, man. In spite of everything, I am well.
Yeah, awesome. Same here. Now you're on the West Coast, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Sunny day today. Yes, partly cloudy, but we've been having some cold and some rain, and I love it all. So it's a good day in LA.
Good. How is, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but how is just things moving now in California? The spirit of the people in the community. I know for a while California was possibly looking like becoming a hot spot. How are things kind of coming along for you guys on the West Coast?
You know what? Actually, it's one of those things where you have to really stay up on the news reports and things like that. But as a result of me overdosing on the news, I had to take a break from it. So it's like I'm an optimist. I see the bright side of the darkest things. Yeah. And I keep that to myself because people are like, that's absurd. Yeah, but every dark cloud has a silver lining. So I feel the energy of people getting, having cabin fever and all of that. But the last I heard that the numbers were increasing slightly. But at the same time, everybody was talking about prepare for this next week or two that's coming. It's going to be so, when they don't know. How do they know it's going to be so that much if everyone's in their homes?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of what we don't know. But right. Those who do know are the ones who's out and about doing what we are completely unaware of because we're in our homes. So they want us to know. They allow us to know what they want us to know. So my thing is, I just have to make sure that I am prayerful and that I am using the mind of Christ, my imagination, meditation, to see things as I would like them to be for myself, my family, and the world. Yeah. Sorry, it's a long way home, but yeah, I wanted you to kind of get to know me on that journey in a nutshell so you can be mindful of what you ask.
Yeah. I got you. So let's get into your musical journey, right? So you have been singing and in the musical game for a very long time. You've been a singer. You've traveled throughout the world. I was looking at some of your bio. You've been in Africa. You've been in Asia. You've been all over the world. What was your earliest memory as it relates to music? When did you first think, okay, wait a minute, I think this is something that I'm passionate about and something I want to do? What is your earliest memory of that?
Well, it was way back when I was a teenager at 16 years old, being the son of a preacher and pastor. We had the rocking church. So whenever one of the recording artists in the gospel world would come to the city of Chicago, they would stop by our church. So that's what we became known for. I only sat maybe 300 people, something like that way back then. We're talking 50 years ago, 40 years ago. But the story I want to tell you about is when the Winans, Marvin and Ronald, would stay with us at our home from time to time. And
Okay.
I was the drummer. I'd spent a lot of hours becoming a drummer to support my dad's ministry. But as I was doing my chores around the house, Ronald said, Marvin actually said, no, I said that, but it was actually, I think it was Ronald. But the fact of the matter is, we were on our way to a Tuesday night Bible study. And one of them said, hey, y'all, Jesse can sing. And my dad said, Jesse can't sing. Jesse's a drummer. No, Jesse can sing. So my dad made me learn a song that night. And that following Sunday, I got up and sang the song. And I was a nervous wreck. I was so nervous, wasn't even thinking. I was holding my crotch.
Yeah.
And my mother came up and had to take it and move it and put it back. Because I was singing like this the whole time with my head down. But after doing that a few times and looking up and seeing the people really into it, it's like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
So at that point, then it's just like, okay, well, I'll keep doing this with the choir. And after I did that, then Timothy Wright heard me. And then I think it was my first, I couldn't remember if Timothy Wright was my first recording which was a Master, can you use me? Can you use someone who's finally surrendered all? Can you use someone who's waiting to hear your call? Can you use someone who will give their all? Master, tell me, Master, can you use me? And then the other song, I don't know who was first, but it was, we must work while it is day, spreading the word of God as we walk along the way, willing to do his will. I can't remember, but we must witness to everyone we meet, in every song we sing. We must tell the world of a soon coming king. And that was on Ronald Winans' Family and Friends.
Okay.
So those were with choirs.
Gotcha.
Choirs, I was like, well, let's get a group. And so then I had a group called Gospel Inspiration. And that was with my brother, Darnell Campbell, my cousin, Ernie Allen, who was one of the baddest organists in the city and country, and Eric Tate, and another guy you may have heard of. His name is David Hollister.
Heard, yes.
Yeah.
Very familiar.
Yeah, so we all had that group back then. And after that, I was like, okay, the group broke up, and then I started singing solo gospel.
Okay.
And it goes on and on and on and on and on. But that was the earliest of my memories regarding music, singing.
See, we share something in common. So I grew up, and I didn't actually know this right until kind of doing some research. I didn't know your dad, very well-known bishop in Kojic. So I grew up Kojic here in Texas.
Oh.
Right? So we share that similarity in terms of our journey. Thinking about, now you said you played the drums. Do you play any other instruments or anything?
No, just drums.
Just drums. Okay. What are some of your musical influences? I know you said you spoke about the wine and singing with them, so I know they were a heavy influence. What were some of your other musical influences?
Well, growing up, it was what everybody else was listening to, like the Hawkins, and, Vanessa Bell Armstrong, Daryl Coley, commissioned, and the Clark sisters. Yeah. But as a late teen, the greater influence, because we couldn't listen to secular music growing up.
Correct.
So the greater influence, well, I shouldn't say the greater. We know it was a greater at that particular time, because, unless you were Marvin Winans, it was all about who can do what. All of those singers I named, Vanessa Bell Armstrong, Daryl Coley, the Clarks, everybody. So, but when I, late teens, that's when I learned about Sarah Vaughan, when I went to Columbia School of Music. And I lost my mind in the class. So it was the stadium style seating. Yes. And I was all the way up at the top. And when the professor put it on, I was like typical Black person. Oh my God! Oh my God! Did you hear that? Did you hear that? And other people were like, shh, oh. But the professor was just laughing because it was just that phenomenal. I've never heard anything like that. and then Luther Vandross. I did sneak and sing House Is Not a Home in the high school talent show. But I would go away. I would offer to go to the grocery store, which was 1, 2, 3, about 4 blocks away, for my mom, just so that I could put my Walkman on and catch
And listen,
Thriller.
yeah.
I was walking down the street, so that was Michael Jackson, and so Sarah Vaughan, Luther Vandross, Michael Jackson. Those were my biggest influences in the secular realm.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, because I can hear very strong jazz nuances, in your approach to music. I can hear that very strongly. How would you describe your sound, when it comes to music? How would you describe, your sound?
Well, I don't really describe my sound,
Okay.
but I sing, universal music with soul.
Got it.
There is no limit as to the genre, the style that I would not transcend. It's just a matter of taking the time to study it, to show myself approved.
Gotcha.
And I'm like Paul, I become all things to all people that I may reach some. So there are no limits as to what I would sing. It's like if I wanted to sing opera, I wouldn't just no, I want to study it so I can know when I'm talking about what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
Enough to be efficient at it.
Got it. That makes sense. How do you approach songwriting? So I sing a little bit, not an artist by any stretch of imagination. I pastored, so growing up Kojic, a lot of times you would see pastors that could sing and preach at the same time, because you had that musical element, to preaching, what we would call hooping, So, I've tried to dabble a little bit in writing and things. What is your approach to, writing? Do you hear the melody first and then you add the words later? Do the words come to you first and then you hear the melodies? How do you what is your process, I guess, if you will, to writing?
Well, it's sometimes, a melody would just come to me. Like I was reading a book the other day and I just turned the book into like a song, and or when I get a track that I really feel, oh my God, so many different melodies just keep coming, and I would turn on GarageBand and I just record.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, that's just too many to go through, and I just move on to the next song.
Gotcha.
Because I get so many melodies in my head, and that is a good problem to have, but that's just another style. And sometimes it'll just come to me, but that doesn't happen as often. Some people, they can sit down and just.
I know.
Yeah, that's me. It really has to be something that is like someone reached out and said, oh my God, Jesse, it would be so great if you would write a song about the times. I said, yeah, it would be. It would. Yeah. But I'm not that person to sit down in Corona. Quarantine. We got to be clean. No, that it would be like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, I got you. I feel you on that. Who is on your if you right now in this moment, if you could put together like a wish list of like artists, producers that you could work with, who would be some of those individuals on your list?
I don't really follow the game like that anymore. My, wish list back in the day was David Foster.
Gotcha.
And a Dark Child. Excuse me. You know who that is?
Yep, Rodney Jerkins. Yep.
Yeah, Rodney Jerkins. But at this point, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's whomever can produce that which is most efficient for the time. And I understand business-wise, you need someone with a name, a recognizable name that would get you more airplay. But I could see that. But me, it's all about the feeling. So when you have, and then, I could be too airy-fairy, too faithful, but I'm like, whatever's meant to be is going to be. I could and would do some research to see who I think, but I just believe that my focus has always, it's never been on fame and fortune. Never, because I had an opportunity, but I canceled a meeting with Clive Davis. And it was said that I was going to be his mayor, Whitney Houston. This was back in '96, after Capitol Records got rid of all of their urban music, all of their Black artists. But I forgot I live, forgot I die.
Right.
And, I kicked myself in the butt for many, many years after that. And then also another fortune could have come from signing a voiceover and animation contract with a company back then called CED, which is Cunningham, Escott, and Dupini, which is now CESD. And when I signed on the dotted line, as I had the pen, well, it was still on the table, they said, "You are going to make us so wealthy." And I said verbatim, "And you guys only get 5%? They're like, "Yeah." At that pen, I signed that bad fella.
Yeah.
3 months later, they called me in and said, "Jesse, we really appreciate what you do in ministering and all, but we need you here and available for the auditions. So we need you to kind of, make a choice." So I made the choice to continue ministering.
Gotcha.
And 3 years later, the economy tanked. 2008, hit rock bottom. I was so mad at God, Joel. Man, I cussed at God. I swore. I cried. I repented. I sang hymns. And man, it was just a rough, because I was like, how and why would you have me at this present state after I've given up the world for the sake of ministry? Because back then, when I had the contract with him, I was still traveling, doing spot dates with Bishop Jakes and Creflo Dollar and doing these huge conferences and stuff like that. But my mindset was, only what you do for Christ will last. I was going to get a crown in glory one day.
Yeah.
Boy, if you don't wake up and see what I have allowed as a result of the gift, having made a room for you and brought you before these great people to give you these great opportunities, you're reminding me of the dude who died in the flood. Don't come before me and be like, "Why didn't you save me when I sent you all these opportunities?" I was like, "Okay, God, I jacked it up, but what can we do now?"
Yeah, gotcha. What was that word that sustained you in that season? We all have that encounter where if we're going through some kind of valley experience, right? And for that initial moment before we kind of get a clarity of thought, we're upset, mad at the world, mad at God. What was that word that ultimately kind of kept you? Because I think that's something that would be encouraging even in this season, as many are going through some turbulent times. We all are experiencing it to some extent, right? Some have lost loved ones. What was that word in 2008 that really sustained you when you felt like, this is not working the way I thought it was going to work?
There was no word, because I felt like I had been forsaken. And, but in my crying out to God and asking God, why? And what came to me was the first time I heard the voice of God. And I was lying on the floor. Daughter was in bed, sick with a fever, and I couldn't afford the prescription. And after I cried myself sick, then I heard the voice of God. "I never told you to pass up on those opportunities. I said that a man's gift makes room for him. Room is and always will be opportunity." And so when I sat up and I was like, "Oh my God, is that what you sound like?" Okay, God, well, I've tried to live my life perfectly, but evidently you've never left me if you just spoke to me like that. So I must have missed something. So at this point, God, and I'm wiping stuff from my face and my nose, I said, well, at this point, I pray that you open my eyes and ears and enable me to see things and people as they are and not only as they appear. And if I am to convey your message, having been licensed as a minister under Kenneth Ulmer of Faithful Central Bible Church last year, then God, I need to know truth, not what man has said or has written that was uninspired by you, but the truth of the living God. I need to know that.
Yeah.
And right then and there, the next thought, get up, study the origin of your faith. And that was the beginning of my conscious awakening to
Gotcha.
who God is in me, through me, as me. And
Yeah.
therefore, I've come to know things that I wouldn't repeat because people wouldn't believe me. But
Mm.
the thing about it is the culmination of that, which has assisted and helped me from when the economy tanked in 2008 all the way up and having been sustained and provided for by faith up to this time, where this is nothing new for someone like those of us who's always lived by faith,
Correct.
walked
Right.
by faith and not by sight. So the culmination of it is what I can say, and what I will say is there are certain scriptures that God would bring to my remembrance, and even the understanding and the interpretation of those scriptures that I did not get when I was younger,
Mm.
growing up as a PK.
Gotcha.
And traveling the world with my dad and hearing preachers and traveling with preachers and speakers of the Bible, of the Word of God, then these understandings came to me to the point where it was like amazing. Why didn't God, how is it that you would keep, and this roller coaster of an awakening to who God is,
Yeah.
it was devastating.
Yeah.
And even at the times when it was so devastating because of the truth being revealed, then God brought to my remembrance, he who increased in knowledge. So I looked it up. Oh my God, he
Yeah.
who increased in knowledge also increased in sorrow.
Yeah.
Well, why is that? So I would always ask these questions. So to answer your question, to put it all in a nutshell, it was the fact that in the beginning, God created. And God created us in its image and its likeness.
Yeah.
After all things had been created by God, for God.
Yeah.
So to me, that meant that, okay, that is so true, because the Bible also says that the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world, and all those who dwell therein. So evidently, this is all you, God.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
therefore, there must be some kind of master plan, because I'm doing my best. So therefore, I have to trust and believe that you're going to do the rest. So
Correct.
I got faith in you. So you're going to have to do what you're going to do. I'm going to keep doing what I know to do to the best of my ability. But then God was like, have you not eaten? Have you not had shelter?
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, I did sleep in my car, when I was like, yeah, but that was your own choice. So it's things like that. We bring upon these things ourselves, because the mind is a central station for all divine operation.
Yeah.
That's why it says, be ye transformed by the
Yeah.
renewing of this
The
thing.
mind.
So
Yeah.
that's how my perception
Yeah.
changed and has sustained me throughout. So we have to understand who God is in us, through us, as us, because all that God is, if he created us in his image and his likeness, then we can do, be, have, go, just as God did.
Yeah. The reality is, talking through that valley experience, I'm even as we're going through this, kind of trafficking through this pandemic right now in our world, the reality, and you kind of alluded to this, the reality is when we are in that valley experience, whether it's someone that knows God or it's someone that doesn't know God, right?
Yeah.
If I know God, then from those seasons where the pastures were green, and the sun was shining, when I go through that valley, I'm able to pull from that reservoir of all those things that I've deposited, and now God is proving his word to me. And then I begin to pull from that which I've deposited all along in my spirit. And then for those that don't know him, this season now becomes the opportunity where he can begin to show and reveal himself. And so I definitely understand what you're saying in terms of that valley, that God will begin to prove all of that he's put on the inside of us. Now in this season, he's proven it to us. I've told you I'm your provider. I've told you that, I'm fighting for you. I've told you that, I'll speak to you. I'll, whatever it is, that song of deliverance will be made real in that valley experience.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. Let me ask you this, kind of just thinking about it, what do you feel like you are hearing God speak in this season, as we are going through this? nobody is isolated from this situation, right? Rich or poor, you're going through this scenario that the world is facing. Black or white is regardless of race, culture, creed, what you believe. Everybody right now is experiencing the effects of this virus and this pandemic. What do you feel like you're hearing God speak to you personally?
Well, again, see, I got to be mindful of how I share certain things because I don't want people to like, there he is, stone him, hit me with a rock. You know? But I feel like this is a time of shift and transition.
Yeah.
In and of life. And, the Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against whatever the rest of that says, and darkness and principalities. I don't know the verbatim, it slips my mind right now. But just that fact alone, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but it is a spiritual thing. It is a frequency thing, a vibrational thing. And because everything is energy. God is the ultimate energy. And on a scientific level, it's all frequency, but it's just a differential rate that separates one thing apart from everything else. And if you really break it down, it's like, wow, this is a serious time of shift and transition, whereby all things were created by God for God. So we have to trust in God, with all of our heart, lean not to the understanding that God said to get above all things. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you get that understanding is knowledge, and that knowledge is power. But it's what you do with the knowledge, the understanding, that becomes powerful. Mm-hmm. And those who are the powers that be, they know these things, and they take the precepts and the principles of the Bible and they use it. And it works to their advantage. But to them who has, more will be given, and to them who don't, even what they have will be taken away from them. That is understanding. That's truth. Many of us, we go around like sheep, going to our man shepherds, expecting them to lead us to greener pastures, when they are just a vehicle to get to the oneness of God. They talk about how, man, we cannot, well, I don't want to get too deep into it, but the fact of the matter is, I believe that, there are people who are well aware of what's happening while we're in our homes sequestered. Things are being done. We just know what we don't know.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So I believe that there are some who are not being affected because I believe that they prepared and they have planned and they are executing the plan. But we have to, being the people of God, the children of God, who are called by God, we're the ones who have to humble ourselves and pray and seek God's face. What is God's face? It's truth. It is understanding. Not just taking the Bible at face value and saying that, oh, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. That is true, but what is it going to take? Putting on the whole armor of God. What's the whole armor of God? It's getting you some understanding. So many different ways God is trying to tell us, get you some understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get you some.
Yeah,
how you expect to fight against the enemy when you just as ignorant, and these guys have been preparing for so many years for what's happening. So I do believe that it's the principalities, it's the kingdom of darkness doing what they're doing, because this whole coronavirus, there's so many conspiracies, it's man-made or it's not, and or the other thing that has to do with the generation, stuff like that, all of that. So many things, but we don't know what we don't know. That's why it's important to get some understanding. So, oh man, it's a lot. What was your question? Did I answer it?
No, you were good. Let me ask you this. How do you, in this season, how do you calm the noise? And it's interesting because I believe in this season.
Joel, the landscaper's coming with the blower. I'm going to close my window, but I'm hearing your question. So please keep going. I'm hearing it.
Gotcha. Yeah, the thing, I was thinking to myself is, and I'll ask you this question. I don't want to say too much of the answer, at least what I'm thinking, but how do you in this season really kind of calm the noise in order to really focus? And some of this I believe God is allowing because He is distractions that we could not remove. He's removing them for us, whereas we have no excuse to really get into His presence and really learn His voice. The Bible says the sheep know His voice, and a stranger they will not follow. And I believe in this season, God is really helping us to shut down these distractions so that we have no excuse and we can really focus on our relationship with Him and those things that are really important. How are you kind of finding that time? And we talked about it a little bit, but just to kind of shut down that noise and really focus on those things that are important. One, even our, primarily our relationship with God.
Well, in a nutshell, my studies, my research since 2008 of studying the origin of my faith has led me to know thyself. How can I know myself? How is that possible? Well, you were created in the very image and likeness of God.
Yeah.
So you are.
Starts. Yeah.
Pardon me, what'd you say?
That's where it starts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the best way to get to know thyself is to get to know God.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing, not just taking the Bible face value, but who wrote what and why, and what was happening around that individual's life at that particular time. Who were the ones or the one to determine which books would be included and excluded from what we call the Bible that was put together by man.
Yeah.
God didn't all of the books of the Bible and here's a book smoldering with the power of God. No, somebody took the time to put together these particular books at a particular time when there were hundreds, if not thousands of different religions, and say, this is the word of God.
Yeah.
So bottom line is, know thyself. You have to turn within. Block out as much of the mind chatter and all of the negativity that the world is bombarding you with because of the prince of the power of the air. You get it? And when you turn within, why am I turning within and how do I turn within? That's doing your best to get rid of the monkey mind because you're always thinking about something, and you go back to the first thing that was actually the thing that gave you life, which is the breath of God. The very breath is the yes of life. For, as I said, all things were created by God for God. And then on top of that, in the beginning, God created. God said, let there be light from darkness. And it still shines to this day. And everything else was created like that. Then after he did everything, created everything, he said, now let us make man in our image and in our likeness. Not only that, but he wonderfully made us with his hands. And then he breathed that breath of yes into our bodies and we became living beings. And then he said, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you some power. Give you some power of life and death in what you say. You will live by the words that come out of your mouth. And on top of that, I'm going to give you the same co-manifesting abilities that I have. So if you think and feel about whatever it is you desire to bring about, you will have it. Because I did it, and because you are the image and likeness of me, you can do it too. But you got to get some understanding first and foremost so that you can know thyself. And when you know thyself, then you have the power, and then you can do better with it, and then you become powerful, and then you can say that there is no weapon formed against me, because you know it's not going to prosper, because God is not only with you, but God is in you, working through you as you, because he said he would be with you even till the end of time, which means that God never left you.
Yeah.
And when you know that, then you get to know a little bit more about yourself, and then you can sit and you can meditate.
Yeah.
You can do your own research throughout the Bible and see where it talks about meditation. It's not going to give you everything. I remember Bishop Jones saying something about, if God gave you the roadmap to wherever it is that you want to go to the end, you would have no need of him. So my thing is, when you get that understanding, oh my God. So that is what helps me. It is really meditating. It is turning within to the God that said that he is with me even to the end of time. Getting rid of all of the mind chatter. And after I make my request known by asking, because he said, if you don't ask, you won't receive, but using that power of life and death, speaking to things that are not as though they were, because everything that is to be created has already been created. All we're doing is just manifesting it in the realm of today, in the realm of our life called reality. So when I do this, my process is I'm grateful for all things because God is in control, because the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world, and all those who dwell therein. First and foremost, so therefore I'm grateful for everything, everyone, everywhere, of every time, because this is God and I trust the God of all creation. And from that point, then I make my request known. And then I sit and I just imagine myself with that which I am asking for, and I'm thinking it until I think it, and then I begin to feel it, like I did when I wanted to make it onto a singing reality show. I had a vision board. I made it very plain. You don't even need words. Put some pictures up there. And I sat before that vision board every single night, often in the mornings, and I would just imagine myself singing on X Factor, a singing reality show, because to add to what I said before, at the end of that, not really the end, but as I began to study the origin of my faith, I came to this awakened state. I'm like, oh my God, I really wasted a lot of time. No, all things work together for good, Jesse. But what is it that you want now? Well, you know what, God? I could see how being a male Whitney Houston and being a very successful recording voiceover and animation artist, how that could have had great influence in reaching people. So I want to reach as many people as possible. Pardon me?
All things.
I want to reach as many people as possible in the least amount of time, because you do things efficiently. Okay, well, how do you want to do that? Oh, you're asking me. Okay, well, how about a singing reality show? So I began to audition for all the singing reality shows, and they all told me no. So I said, well, God, thank you for the gift that you said will make room. It's made great room throughout my life. And if you never do anything else, you've done so much, and I'm so grateful. Well, let me go back to school and get finish my education in spiritual psychology so that I can help other people make the most of what God is giving them. How am I going to pay for that? Well, I'll go and sing on the street, 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, and I will accept singing engagements for whatever people could afford. All right, that's what I'll do. That was on a Sunday. That Wednesday, someone called. Hey, can you come and sing for us? We'd like for you to do like a mini concert of about 4 songs on this coming Sunday. Oh, great. Okay, cool. Well, what's the business? $75. I wish I would sing for 75. You done lost your mind. And God was like, you said, oh, I did, didn't I? Oh, man. Okay, I'll be there. Yeah. Showed up. Spirit took over. There was reciprocating love. I'm giving and I'm feeling it and I'm giving, and it's just, and it turned into 7 songs. Speaker couldn't even speak, was just crying. At the end of the service, she allowed people to give into my hands as they walked out the door. I left with $780.
Wow.
I needed $1,600 to start school that Friday, 4 days later.
Wow.
So the very next day, I'm sitting outside of a fitness center on a guest membership at the YMCA. Well, God, we got half of what we need. That was so great. I just kept my word. And that 4 agreement thing, because Don Miguel Ruiz wrote, and I live by the Bible and the 4 agreements, what's now 5 agreements. Being impeccable with your word. God, that really, that meant a lot. So, and then the phone rang. It was the speaker of the night, of the day before.
Yeah, the day before, yeah.
It was Della Reese, Touched by an Angel.
Oh, wow.
She said, baby, I was so moved by what you did. I called a son of mine. He has a show called The Voice. And I couldn't remember your name, so I told him it was Austin Powers. So when you meet him, tell him that's your stage name, but your real name is Jesse Campbell. Now, we need to get him some music. I rushed home, got her the music. That next day, on that Tuesday, The Voice contacted me, all social media formats, text message, email, and voice messages, asking me to come and be on the show when they were already 30 days into the second season.
Wow.
That's how I made it on the show. And favor of God lasted throughout that entire show till the enemy was like, enough is enough. Bam, it ends. I had to continue to trust God. But the fact of the matter is that same manifesting process is what I apply to this very day. So when I sit in meditation, I do as I've done because it's been proven. I don't have to do what somebody told me. I'm doing what I have done myself. You get what I'm saying? So when I share these things, I'm sharing from the heart. I'm sharing my own personal experience. I ain't trying to trick nobody because I ain't got nothing to lose or gain by you believing and receiving what it is that I have to say. I've grown up around preachers and teachers and people in the fivefold who say things just because it's what they've heard, which is what we all do when we starting out, but I speak from fact. So in conclusion, I sit, and at that point to continue, and then at that point, I just start imagining myself with whatever it is and the effect of receiving what it is. And then at that point, I'm like, oh God, I love you so much. I feel it. So what I'm thinking and feeling about, I know I'm going to bring about. Then at that point, I say, God, well, what is your vision of yourself as me? And I got that from a person named Michael Beckwith. He has a visioning process. I think it's called something like that. But the bottom line is, and then I sit and I just listen. I give God equal, if not more, often more time to speak itself to me than I spoke to it.
Correct.
So that's how it happened. And that's how I keep myself in this place. Like my dad used to say, prayer and meditation. Prayer will do one of two things. It'll either move the situation, eradicate it, get rid of it, or it'll fix you to stay in the situation until God gets ready to bring you out.
Wow.
That was really good.
That was powerful. That was powerful. That was powerful.
Thank you.
Powerful. That was powerful, man. I think that was really a word of encouragement, especially in this season, because I think we're at a season now where we have no excuse to not hear God speaking if we put ourselves in position to receive. Where we have now kind of had this time and space where we are now really just kind of quarantined and we are to our homes and to ourselves. This is a perfect opportunity for us to really become really sensitive to the voice of God and hear him speak so he can give us direction so that he can lead and guide our lives into all truth. Right. And this is that perfect season for us to do that. So just to hear your journey, I never knew that your testimony there, how you got on The Voice. So that was amazing to hear how through that process, God really showed himself strong. That was a blessing. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. So tell us, man, I know we got a few minutes here. Tell us what's coming soon. What are you working on? Any new projects? Tell us what's coming up next.
Down through the years, I've often spoken of what I'm doing to the point where my mom, about 5-6 months ago, she said, baby, I just don't understand why these people keep taking all your ideas. I knew what was coming next. Baby, you need to stop talking so much. Be quiet and let God do what God's doing in you. And when it's done, then you release it. You got all these great ideas. And next thing you know, you're telling me about how they took that and they took this. And I know you're not worried about it, but just you got to be wise in what God has given you. So the reason why I say that is because I am definitely working on some things. But what I will say, it is for children.
Okay.
And the other thing is it's something else that's going to really help us during this time of shift and transition, especially those who are affected the most.
Got it.
It's all about allowing God to be God that would sustain us during this time. Like I listened and I learned and gleaned from individuals like Joseph.
Gotcha.
And Job and Noah.
Gotcha.
Those are individuals that really stuck out. And even David, all that he did to get to where God has me to be. I'm not saying that I'm gonna be a king like David or in a position like Joseph and stuff like that. But I've kind of learned. So I'm just trusting God, but it definitely has to do with this gift that God has given me of using my voice.
Got it.
So I got the talent.
So how do we stay connected with you on social media so that when these things are released and forthcoming, everyone can be in tune? How do we stay connected with you?
Well, I am on all of the main social media sites. So Twitter,
Okay.
Instagram, and one other one. But anyway, that's Sing. I sing. So Sing, Jesse Sing.
Got it.
And Facebook, it's Jesse Campbell fan page, and Instagram, yeah, that's Sing Jesse Sing as well. So, but if you just go to jessecampbell.com, you can find all of them, and YouTube. But that's what I'm really, desiring to build up the YouTube, and even yourself, Joel. Are you on YouTube?
Yes, I'm on YouTube. We're on.
But it says live on YouTube, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're live on YouTube now. So
Oh,
we're actually working on building up our YouTube platform. We're working on building up our Facebook platform, Instagram.
because
Yeah.
I want to say that, Joel. Let me say right quick, because I've been to dozens of countries. Everyone doesn't get Facebook and a couple of the other things, but YouTube, that's some of everywhere. It's more accepted. And Instagram, it says 1,000 words, a picture. So that is some of everywhere. But those two things is very important for people like us to build up those areas.
Got it. Yep, we're definitely working on building those platforms now. So yeah, we're live on YouTube now, and then what we're doing is we're sharing it across all of our different social media platforms so that we can begin to leverage YouTube, and then hopefully that will kind of help spill over into some of the other platforms as well. So yeah, we're definitely working to leverage the power of YouTube. So yeah.
Well, Joe, man, I want to tell you, man, thank you for what you are doing. Thank you for being the light, even outside of the pulpit that is, that we're so accustomed to having. But this light that you're using and sharing with the world via your own way of doing it, man. I mean, I think this is important because everybody doesn't want to. White people don't really understand that. They're like, what?
Yeah. It's culturally different, and it's not always able to literally travel from culture to culture. So you're so right about that. Well, man, hey, man, Jesse, I appreciate you joining me today, man. I am big shout out to Rodney and Anita Batiste for hooking us up and providing this opportunity for us to get together and connect.
Yes,
I forgot. Yeah, so much love to them for connecting. They used to take care of my wife and I when we met in school, so they have been. We've known them for 20 plus years now. So,
oh my God. Yeah, they were, dude, just like you talked. It's like, look, they took care of my daughter and I, along with Pastor Chris and his wife. Man, those four people, they were such a tremendous blessing in my daughter's and I's life, man. So I love them dearly. Love them dearly. So I'm glad they hooked us up.
Yeah, that was a blessing, man. Well, hey, man, I thank you. I appreciate you for your time today, man. Be blessed, and we will stay connected.
All right, looking forward to it, man. Blessings.
All right, take care.
All right, take care. Bye.